Control Houston, please call station for a voice check.
This is Bustle Digital Group. How do you hear me?
Hello, Bustle Digital Group and Catherine. We have you loud and clear on board the International Space Station. Welcome aboard.
All right. Well, just to start off, Christina, could you quickly just introduce yourself, say your name, what you do, and where you are currently?
I sure can. My name is Christina Koch. I'm a NASA astronaut currently living and working on board the International Space Station. We orbit the Earth about 250 miles up.
Amazing. And what would you say your biggest responsibilities are right now up there?
That's a very interesting question and has many layers. I would say first and foremost, our responsibility is to our crew up here to keep each other safe. Secondly, I would say our responsibilities are the work, the amazing work that we do as part of this orbiting laboratory. As a microgravity laboratory, we do science in all kinds of different arenas, from physical science to biological science, human research, technology demonstrations, and many more. So doing that work and carrying out the work that is the purpose of the International Space Station is definitely one of our responsibilities. And I also think that we have a responsibility to the people that we represent up here, to carry people's dreams into space with us, to communicate the perspective that we have up here. And in addition, to work with our teams on the ground. We're part of one big mission that NASA has to explore and to push the boundaries farther. And so our responsibility to the teams, not only that trained us, but that work with us every day to accomplish that mission.
So life up there seems very busy. How do you make time for yourself? What does a typical weekend look like for you?
Yes, that's also a great question. We do typically have weekends off. Now, if we have some kind of a dynamic operation, such as a visiting vehicle or a spacewalk or the arrival of a new crew, we may have our weekends shifted around a bit. But for the most part, we do try to sync up a weekend like normal so that we can share that weekend with our friends and family at home in our off time. Obviously, we don't get to drive home. We still spend our weekends and our free time in our workspace. So part of that means just creating an environment where we can feel like we're experiencing off time and downtime in this place. One of the things that I like to do is look out the windows. We have this gorgeous window. I call it the bay window of Space Station. It's in a module that we call the cupola, and it faces the Earth, and it is a place where you can get phenomenal views, not only of the Earth as it races by below us, but of the night sky, the planets, the moon, auroras, the southern lights on the Earth's atmosphere. So I love looking out the window and I love taking photographs. I've been a photographer for many years, so to get to do that up here is definitely taking my hobby to the next level, and I really enjoy that. I also like to read. I kind of have a favorite window that I picked out. It just so happens to be this window back here, so I like to read by the window on the weekends as well, just kind of take a little time off that way. We also like to spend time with each other. We have group meals together. We watch movies together, play music together, and, just share stories about our lives and just learn about our crewmates and spend time together that way. And we also are really lucky that we have a chance to communicate with our friends and family at home. On the weekends in particular, we usually have one video conference per week with, say, a spouse or our kids or something like that. So it's a really great time to be able to reconnect with the home front.
In one of the photos you sent us, you were roasting garlic, which we thought was amazing. Do you cook a lot up there?
Actually, we do not cook a lot in the traditional sense. In fact, that's why that photograph was kind of a memorable occasion. Occasionally, we get a visiting cargo vehicle, and in certain types of vehicles, they are able to send up just a little bit of fresh fruits and vegetables. And garlic is one of the things we always request, because if we set up the right kind of setup, we can actually peel the garlic. It does take some upside down tape to put the garlic peels on as we go so they don't go flying off, and a little bit of care in cutting up the garlic. And then we use little pouches to put the garlic in what we call our food warmer, which is normally just where we warm up our food. But if you put garlic in there for long enough, for several hours, it will actually roast it, and it's a real treat. Everything else that we have up here is either thermostabilized food, like an MRE style meal, or it's dehydrated and rehydrated on board. So that, act of making your own food and creating something, and I like to do that for my crewmates. It really is a unique opportunity that we get here once in a while.
That's amazing. So how big is your personal space for just you?
Each of us has crew quarters, is what our bedrooms are called, and they're about the size of a phone booth. If you stick your hands out like this, you can kind of touch either wall. And inside there we have a sleeping bag, which is attached to the wall because we don't need to lay down into a bed. We actually couldn't, but we do have a sleeping bag that we can zip ourselves into so that we don't float away while we sleep. We also have a computer in there so we can email. That's where our primary communication is. We have software that allows us to use our computer just like a telephone, so we can call people from there, and we can also decorate the space with photos from home, mementos from home, things that people have sent us in care packages, and just things to make a space on station feel comfortable and feel like home. It's interesting because oftentimes people's workspace, they have a personal space there as well, but as you can imagine, space is very limited on board the space station. So we don't have a desk where we can necessarily set up a workspace with all of our bits and bobs. So our crew quarters are really special to each of us.
When you were getting ready to go on your first expedition, how did you decide what to bring with you?
Well, it's interesting you asked that. I actually had a little bit of an accelerated training flow, so I didn't spend as much time planning that out as I might have thought I would. And the funny story about that is that I collected all kinds of mementos from different institutions and different people that had helped me to get where I was, schools that I went to, organizations I had been a part of, collected all those things and brought them to the person to turn them into on the due date, and realized that I completely had forgotten to think about anything that I personally might want for myself. So the person organizing that reminded me of that, and I thought, oh, that's a great idea. So she gave me one more day, and that night I went home, and I called it going shopping in my own house. I just sort of went around from room to room and picked out little things that I thought would be creature comforts, a pair of socks here, a photograph there, and ended up being able to slip those in under the deadline as well.
Is there one item in particular that reminds you the most of home?
Absolutely. My husband and I have a tradition that every time we travel, we bring home for each other a baseball cap or kind of a trucker's hat style hat. And so I brought 2 of those from our collection up on board with me, and I have them hanging in my crew quarters. So those always remind me of my husband and how much fun we have when we travel together.
What has been the most surprising thing about living at the International Space Station?
There have been a lot of surprises up here. I'm always surprised by how amazing it is to look down on the places that I'm from on Earth. But I would say the most surprising thing is just the ability that we have to adapt to life up here. It's been especially clear how much adaptation there has been for us because we just recently got a new crew, and watching them go through that process and watching their bodies adjust to microgravity makes me and my crewmate who arrived here, with whom I arrived together a few months ago, realize how much we have changed and adapted. We're to the point now where we don't even notice or think it's strange that we float around. In fact, when I watch television shows of obviously people on Earth, I actually find myself being surprised that things aren't floating. So just how quickly the mind can adapt is really amazing.
That is incredible. What's been the most challenging thing? What took you the longest to get used to?
I think the biggest challenge up here is because we have acclimated so well and because the ground teams do such a great job of making life up here seem normal. One of the biggest challenges is actually staying ready and staying vigilant for the emergencies that could come up at any time, and remembering that we are in such a unique environment and everything that brings. One, the experience of it, to just remember to stay vigilant in appreciating it every single day for the uniqueness that it has, and also just again, the safety, the remoteness of where we are, and how even though it seems so comfortable to us in this indoor environment, we're actually in a very austere environment that humans were never necessarily meant to live without all kinds of technology. And so remembering that and keeping that in the forefront has been a big challenge, but it's one that I think about every single day.
So by the time you're done with your expeditions, you will have been in space for almost a year. What is the biggest thing you hope to accomplish during your space flight?
I think number one is just giving back and contributing as much as possible when I'm here. And that is on every level you can imagine. Giving back to my family and recognizing that my husband and I have the goal of having an even better marriage after this almost year apart. And we work on that all the time. And it's definitely going well because we set that goal. Giving back to my team up here, making sure that we've got each other's backs every day and that we're executing the plan as well as we can. Giving back to the teams on the ground that we're working together to accomplish the mission with, and my training team that spent so long making sure I was prepared for this, so trying to make them proud. And then in addition, just giving back to the people that paved the way for me to be here, paying homage to them, the people that trailblazed to make it possible for me to even be here for what looks to be a record-breaking mission, and also to give back to the future explorers, the people that hopefully I can inspire while I'm up here to achieve their dreams. And as I mentioned before, giving back to just the rest of humanity that doesn't necessarily get to come up here and see this view, but to carry their dreams with us and to share everything we're seeing and learning from here.
Well, Christina, this has been so wonderful. Thank you so much.
And thank you. It's been wonderful speaking with you.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Thank you to all participants from Bustle Digital Group. Station, please stand by while we reconfigure audio and video.
Welcome aboard the International Space Station. I'm NASA astronaut Christina Koch. Today, August 26th, marks the halfway point of my 11-month mission on board this orbiting laboratory. August 26th also marks another milestone, Women's Equality Day. Almost a century ago, the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was certified, officially granting women the right to vote. It is amazing and so meaningful to see how far we've come. I have been truly inspired by the struggle and triumph of so many women who dared to break ground in all aspects of society, and those who have pushed the boundaries of human imagination. And now I am both privileged and challenged